Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Silver Slayer. Ladies and gentlemen, what if I told you that you had a chance to get free silver shipped straight to your front doorstep? All you gotta do is subscribe and click the bell and wait for the entry video to go live, which is very soon because we're only a couple hundred subscribers away from hitting the 46K mark. And guess what? That's not all. I'm doing a 47K, 48K. Every 1,000 subscribers until I hit 50K, I'm doing a silver giveaway. So lots of opportunity. That's not the main reason you should be subscribed. It's because I post daily, multiple times a day. My upload schedule is 10 a.m., 5 p.m., and 10 p.m. Today, my internet was down for several hours. So we're just doing the 10 p.m. video, but expect another video at 10 a.m. as well. So I need you guys to do something. Like the video, but I also need you to comment down below how much silver you think you should own. How much silver should you own? It's a very weird question to think about because how are we going to put a number on our stacking strategy? But it's actually very beneficial to think about. Everyone has goals. You have to have goals. And a lot of people start off with 100 ounces. That's usually the first mark, 100 ounces. Maybe for you, it's 10 ounces. Maybe your first goal is 1,000. It depends upon each individual, which makes silver stacking so beautiful because everyone has different financial situations. Everyone has different exit strategies, different goals, likes different types of silver. There's no wrong way to stack. But I did find a couple articles that are talking about how much silver you should own. So I think this is going to be a great video. This type of stuff is very, very interesting to me, especially when I read through all of your comments with your answers, because at the end of the day, some of us might be stacking for 15 plus years. So think about how much silver you could potentially own and also why. What amount of silver are you going to throw in the towel and say, I'm cool, I'm set, I just need to wait for the price to rise? Or are you never going to sell, right? This can get very deep and for very obvious reasons. And that's just part of it. I love that. I love breaking questions down, and especially when I have a platform where I can get all of your feedback and your insight, makes it all that better. So the link to these two articles will be in the description. Make sure you're subscribed. Remember, we're doing a lot of giveaways. I don't think you want to miss out. So have you ever thought about buying silver? Maybe you've gone to coin stores or visit the post office and wondered if you should buy some coins. Now, I think we're all past that part, but maybe you instead have concerns over the macroeconomic landscape. Is silver a good hedge against inflation? So could owning silver be better than gold? That's a good question. I definitely think so. There's a lot of reasons. We're not going to talk about that in this video. If you want to know why, check out the video I posted the other day. So all of these questions and more come up after inevitably asking how much silver should I own? And I do think that's after you get into the silver stacking world and you figure out, the types of silver there are and that you are ready to jump the gun. That is probably the biggest first question is how do I know when I have enough? Or what is enough? How much are you going to stack? And you can't ask someone that because what works for them might not work for you. So all of these questions and more come up before inevitably asking how much silver should I own? So if silver catches your fancy, there are obviously many things to cover. We are not investment advisors, but we are here to help explain some basic concepts. So where do we start? One question is how much of our portfolio should be allocated to precious metals. Generally, we don't think that putting all your money in one asset is a good investing philosophy for most people. You want a level of diversification. And yes, diversification is key. I do recommend also buying some gold, right? But, and this is another question I could ask. Sorry, I don't want to throw too many questions out there, but this is the second question. Since we're talking about how much silver you should have, let's put a ratio to gold. So let's say every 100 ounces of silver, I'll buy a half ounce of gold. Something along those lines. Maybe it's every 100 ounces of silver, you get a 10th ounce of gold. Maybe every 100 ounces of silver, you get an ounce of gold. What would that look like? Or maybe you don't buy any gold at all. That is another great question to ask because when we're looking at diversification, yes, we can talk about cryptos. Yes, we can talk about stocks. But diversification within the precious metals world is just as important, and there are benefits to having gold as well. So the first way silver comes into the equation is that it diversifies you against certain risks. What kind of risks? One of the risks is inflation reduced buying power. When we all know what that means. We all know the dollar is losing its purchasing power, blah, blah, blah. We're not going to talk about that. But how much silver should I own outside of inflationary risks? That's a great question. This is basically the meat and potatoes. If you do not think inflation rates are going up over the coming years, what then? Well, many people see inherent risks in fiat currency. Simply put, if governments keep printing money, countries could end up declaring bankruptcy and issuing new currencies. In some ways, this is much like mega inflation, which is already happening. Every fiat-based system has collapsed. It never works. They have all failed. The second way silver comes into the portfolio equation is insurance policy. This is especially meaningful for those people who want a cheaper alternative to gold, very much like gold, silver is accepted near universally, right? That's one of the most beautiful things about silver is you can take an American Eagle anywhere across the globe. People will recognize that coin as value. They might not know the 1 ounce of silver inside of it is why it's value, but they know that that coin has value. So I hope they throw some numbers in here. And if they don't, then we're still going to talk about some numbers, but I do want to see, what they're trying to get to. So how much silver should I own? Is gold going up? So the strategy of a lot of people uses to maintain a constant amount of silver in their portfolio. Unlike speculators, these people bank on the slow appreciation of precious metals, right? A lot of people aren't investing into silver as a get-rich-quick scheme. Slowly, like I said, 15 plus years, we're going to be accumulating silver, even if it's 1 ounce a month. In 15 years, that's a lot of silver. And that's why I tell people just keep stacking. Even if you're working a minimum wage job and you can only afford 1 ounce of silver per month, that is still 99% of people don't invest in the precious metals. So that 1 ounce is still much greater than the person that has a whole bunch of money in their bank account. So case in point is the strategy of owning 5% of your portfolio in gold and silver. See, they say 5%. And this is actually from a bullion site, so that's interesting. A lot of people say 15%. I would say, and this is my personal opinion, I'm not a financial advisor. I just talk about precious metals in my experience and what I think you should do. And for me, I do a lot more than 15% even, right? Most of my investment is in gold and silver, and the other part of it is in Bitcoin. Now, yes, a lot of people don't agree with Bitcoin, but Bitcoin is the way I can profit fast and then use the profits to reinvest into gold and silver. For you, it might be stocks, might be Tesla stock or Amazon. Maybe it's, you're a carpenter and you work side jobs or whatever the case is. Diversification is definitely healthy, and it's not safe to have all your eggs in one basket. Now, it's hard to say that with silver because at the end of the day, silver is always going to be valuable. It's not risky. It's called a safe haven metal for a reason. So anyways, they go on to say whenever the price goes up, for example, 7% of your readjust by taking money out. Then put that money into other investments. Effectively, your goal here is to balance periodically and enjoy protecting your buying power. And we could even say balance between our silver stack. All right, I'm going to kind of take some of these points and twist them a little bit because I feel like these are more important things to talk about anyways than what they're trying to get to. So our silver stack has to be balanced within itself even. Do you have a lot of high premium silver and maybe you need to start stacking bullion again? Are you going the route of a whole bunch of silver that you got distracted from and missed the whole reason you started stacking? That happened to me. When I first started, I got obsessed with extremely high premium silver, but that wasn't the reason I started. I was stacking silver because I believed in the intrinsic value in the metal itself. Not so much of these fancy coins, but I liked them. So I had to rebalance my stack, and now I'm starting to buy more basic bullion, your American Eagles, your generics. I had to do that because I realized my stack wasn't balanced to my liking. Maybe for you that is a perfect balance, but sometimes we got to get back to the basics and remember, ask yourself why you started stacking and are you still on that track? Because with so many YouTube videos and so many coins, it is easy to get distracted. So practically, there are certain questions you need to be asking yourself if you want to take the question of how much silver you should own seriously. First, you need to ask if you are invested wholly or almost wholly in a particular asset, right? Are you a true stacker? Are you a stone cold silver stacker? Or are you kind of on the fence? Or maybe you dabble into silver, but a lot of other things as well. And do you believe in silver's value? That's the most important question. If you understand and believe in silver's true value, then it's a no-brainer. Modern portfolio theory cautions against this kind of thing, especially if you are not extremely wealthy and may need to draw down capital for unexpected events, which is a very good point. Very good point. Before you even start investing into silver, you need to have money in your bank account. But Silver Slayer, money's fake. It's worthless. Well, what happens if your car breaks down and you need emergency funds, or a medical bill, or your rent's due, or you got fired from your job and you need to pay rent? What happens? You're going to end up selling your silver, usually at a loss because the coins haven't had enough time to start profiting yet. And then you're going to rebuy that silver again, usually at a higher price. Always, and the most important reason you need to do this is you have to understand the value of the dollar. You have to understand how to manage your money, because learning that skill first will also take your silver stacking to the next level. If you don't know how to handle money, if you're living paycheck to paycheck and can't manage your funds through your bank account, it's going to be a lot harder to stack successfully, or I guess even strategically. Next, you need to ask how comfortable you are with macro level risks such as economic uncertainty, inflation, and war, right? That's a very important part. If you are someone who is thinking doomsday, apocalyptic, then silver is definitely your option. You'll see most SHTF survival channels, prepper channels on YouTube, they all invest into silver, every one of them. There's a reason for that. But if you're someone who doesn't believe in that stuff and you're like, oh, those people have their tinfoil hats, then that might steer you in a different direction. Finally, you need to make sure you have sufficiently long-term investment horizons, no sooner than 5 years. This can help avoid temporary downturn in certain markets. And yes, if let's say silver gets down to $15 in a couple of years, and you don't have that game plan of holding off 5 years regardless, you might panic sell. But if you're saying, no matter what happens to silver's price, I'm not selling for at least 5 years, then when the price drops, you don't care because you're like, it has a couple years to go back up. So while far from conclusive, how much should I allocate to precious metals seems to evolve into a question of risk tolerances, specifically of the general economic environment. For most investors, some exposure to contra currencies, and yes, we just invented that word, can prove helpful, especially for passive investors. We do not recommend exceeding 25% of your total wealth at any one time in precious metals. So how much silver should I own in bullion as opposed to other forms? Well, I'm going to answer that question for you. All of it should be in bullion. Or is he talking about, okay, I thought he meant like from the SLV and stuff, but if he's talking about bullion as compared to numismatics or semi-numismatics, then that is a good question. So in some ways, bullion is the truest way to silver, the truest way to own silver, especially if you're buying to protect from the risks of failing financial institutions. The last thing you want to do is own paper. In other words, if banks are closing their doors, your paper silver is not going to get you far, and that's why a lot of people turn to bullion. And yes, it's exactly right. If you can't hold it, you don't own it. If you do not have that coin in your bare hand, then that's not yours. Some of us choose to buy silver coins and others prefer to buy silver bars. Still others just look for whatever the cheapest silver bullion online. At the end of the day, however, an investment in silver bullion should be on solid principles. We do not recommend exceeding the 25% cap in bullion or any asset. That's an opinion, but we said we are not investment advisors, right? It's totally up to you. You can You can take and leave whatever you hear out of this article, or even my opinions. Take it with a grain of salt. You don't have to do anything that we recommend. You can do 100% into silver and not invest another dollar into anything else. Whatever you think works for you. So, one answer to how much silver I should buy is enough ounces to bail yourself out. So let's see what they talk about. Let's say your monthly expenses are $2,500. At the time of writing, the current spot price of silver is 21 Canadian dollars. Divide that by 2,000 to get the amount of ounces you should own. Well, there you have it. You get 117 ounces of silver. So if you owned 118 ounces of silver, you could cover your expenses for 1 month. This is a rough budget-based solution. Still on inflation hedged model, you can bail yourself out. Whether that's a transition between jobs or a family emergency, you at least have a little protected buying power. Now, even if you and I are not mathematically inclined, I need only think about how much silver I should own as a step-by-step plan. Over the course of a year, we would need 1,419 ounces of silver to live for a year, and that is without bringing any money in. Do it for a few years, and the logic suggests you would have a comfortable backup, especially if you stretch things out. And if things don't end up so bad, sounds like a great retirement fund. That is an interesting way. I've never heard it that way. Enough to bail yourself out. So he says that's very interesting. What do you guys think about that? You guys don't have to say your numbers. I mean, a lot of us are very private people. It's like, well, I don't even show my face on my channel. Let me know if I should, by the way. I used to years ago. But looking at my face while I talk, it's irrelevant to me. We're talking about, subject. I don't know why my face would make it any different. But regardless, do you guys think that's a smart plan? Do you guys, or would you use this, or are you going to now? It does make sense. I mean, it's smart. Honestly, it's smart. Some people say, well, if you don't want to think that long term, which you should when you're talking about how much is enough anyways, if you don't want to think that long term, just do it for a year. Maybe you'll say, my goal is to accumulate 100 ounces of silver each year. And he's even using a backup where if you did have to sell, you would be cool. You could bail yourself out. I think that's very interesting. So let's go to the other article. So this one's talking about why silver is real money. I mean, that's obvious. I just actually made a video earlier today talking about why silver is real money. Check out literally the latest video I posted is a video talking about why silver is real money and why dollars are fake money. But anyways, how much silver should you own? This one goes into portfolio allocation. So it's saying 10% precious metals core holdings. It's saying that 3% is gold, 3% silver, 3% platinum, 1% palladium, 3% coins, 3% stamps, and 3% other RTAs. Now, I don't agree with this. And they say 71% is other portfolio assets, like, maybe Bitcoin or stocks or whatever. But for me, that's you don't need to invest into platinum, palladium, coins, stamps, and all that. I personally think that gold and silver, out of all the precious metals, are the only ones that I myself would be investing in. I know some people do buy platinum or maybe even copper, but I just find gold and silver to be the most important ones to own. And it is interesting that they said gold and silver should be equal at 3%. But anyways, let's see what else they have to say. So diversified portfolio is a 3% or more allocation to silver. The lower price of silver means much lower capitalization of the market versus gold market. We already know this stuff. Talking about the gold to silver ratio, protecting your portfolio. So yeah, it's basically, this video's focused more on the actual number of how much is enough. Both of these articles kind of, diverted into other things, but they did make some good points, especially this article. I definitely think that this system could work, especially if you are long-term. But here's another thing. A lot of us don't want to look into it this much. We want it to make it as simple as possible. So if that's saying I don't care about all this stuff. My goal is, or how much silver I think I should own is 1,000 ounces. Then that's perfect. Don't overcomplicate it or overanalyze it if you don't need to. But there are some good points to be made in here, especially, enough ounces to bail yourself out. Now, some people would exceed that, astronomically. Some people might not be able to, but as long as you're stacking, you're doing something right at the end of the day. And that's a very important point I want to get across. Now, like I said, I want you guys to answer down below. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you're subscribed. Turn on post notifications. Subscribing is extremely important because then you will be notified every time one of my giveaways goes live, or if something crazy happens in the economy or that is affecting silver's price, or something crazy happens in the silver world, then you're going to get notified. I'll always update you guys on a daily basis. I'll always keep you in the loop and always give you the inside scoop. I'm never going to tell you stuff you don't need to know. See, even within these articles, when they start talking about stuff that's this kind of, I don't like that. I like to get straight to the point and talk about the meat and potatoes. So anyways, the link to these 2 articles will be in the description. Make sure you're subscribed. Like I said, the giveaway is going to be happening very soon for your chance to win some free silver. I'm going to be picking 2 winners, by the way, so your chances are doubled now because I'm picking 2 of you instead of just 1 like I usually do. Thanks for tuning in. This is Silver Slayer. See you tomorrow at 10 a.m. for the next video. See you guys soon. Peace.